Bring in former acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. The news is breaking. Senator Sinema is now asking the president to visit the border, Chad Wolf. What's going on with the Supreme Court and what's happening there? Is this a rebuke to the White House? What do you think, Chad?
Well, I think it's interesting. Obviously, the administration's been put in a difficult place because they're having to now advocate for Title 42, because I think they know what the rest of the American people know, which is if Title 42 goes away, then they have not only a crisis, but catastrophe along that border. They talk about needing it to stay in place for a brief period of time. I'm not sure what that means. This has not been a surprise. They know that Title 42 was ending. The real issue here is that there is no plan in place either for Title 42 in place today. We see the images in El Paso and elsewhere. That's with Title 42 in place. And we know there is no plan for when they end Title 42. So this is really what is concern to me, is there's no enforcement posture. There's nothing that they're going to do differently that they haven't done over the last 23 months, where we've seen this crisis continue to blow up month after month after month. So yeah, I think they're in a difficult place, but asking for it to remain there for a brief period of time, I'm not really sure what that gets them.
And Ken, here's the thing. The Supreme Court is expected to turn it back, you know, the fight over Title 42 back to the lower courts like it did in June with Remain in Mexico. That's the expectation. But, you know, authorities and former lawmakers like Texas Representative Will Hurd say what the president is doing is not humanitarian. This is pandemonium. They're pushing the elderly, women and children that qualify for asylum to the back of the line, as the size of Nebraska, Idaho, and Vermont have been caught trying to cross. And now people are sleeping on the streets amid record winter Arctic chill temperatures. What do you say, Ken?
No, I think Will Hurd's right. This is a catastrophe, not just for Americans, but it's also for the actual people that deserve asylum. They're lost in the shuffle of the millions of people that are coming across and using the magic word asylum. And we all know that most of those people don't qualify. I think back when Chad Wolf was there, about 14 to 16% of the people actually qualified for asylum. And now everyone is qualifying for asylum. Hopefully, we'll have some victories on the Remain in Mexico as that's back in play. And hopefully Title 42 will stay in place so that we can have some semblance of a border. Right now, we're on the verge of a total collapse.
So U.S. cities, to what Ken is saying, Chad, U.S. cities like New York, they're now warning public services will be cut because of the influx. And this shows how bad it is. Fox Digital got ICE training videos, ICE officials on camera talking about how the White House lost track of at least 150,000 illegal immigrants in the summer of 2021. Let's watch this.
Operation Horizon, the background on this, for you guys that may be new to it, you know, over the summer, we had well over 150,000 folks come in. They were issued a piece of paper that said, go find somebody in ICE. And that was pretty much it. So there was no processing. I know this isn't something that you guys asked for. And I can assure you that no one in the criminal alien program asked for it either.
Since March 2021, CBP has been releasing non-citizens on prosecutorial discretion or humanitarian parole and directing them to report to the nearest ICE office where they intend to reside.
But Chad, they're not showing up, right? I mean, they're told to report back, but they're not, right? Chad Wolf.
Well, that's right. And I don't think that's a surprise at all. At the end of the day, look, they continue to put so many of these illegal aliens into the system. They have broken the system. And so this idea that they're just going to issue a piece of paper and have them show up at the local ICE office, well, guess what? They don't show up. They know that. They have the same statistics, the same facts that I do, that Attorney General Paxton does. They know all of this, and they continue to design a system to operate this way, because this has been by design month after month after month. You talked about cities now declaring states of emergency and asking for federal help. Well, of course they are, because they are being overrun. But you have communities in Texas, in South Texas, in Brownsville, in Del Rio, in El Paso, and in Arizona and the like, that have been dealing with this for 23 months, that have been overridden almost by month one, that have been asking for the federal government to step in. It's what DHS does, is provide border security, but they're not doing that. So state and locals are having to step up and use resources they simply don't have.
Ken, the other thing, too, is a new Harvard Hill poll more than 2/3 of voters, when asked, they have no idea how bad the border is. Critics are saying this is because the media is not reporting on it. The poll shows that, voters out there are thinking only 250,000, 250,000 are illegally crossing when it's 10 times that amount. To Chad's point, we've got U.S. cities reeling from a crime wave and a fentanyl and drug crisis. And it's President Biden who collapsed the border. He got rid of Remain in Mexico, safe third country agreements with Central America, ending Title 42. And on his watch, deportations have dropped to the lowest levels in ICE history. Ken.
Yeah, look, unlike most of the media, your show is covering this, but so much of the media doesn't really cover the reality of what we're experiencing in Texas, Arizona, other border states, and how this is affecting the entire country. And the downside of that is eventually Americans are going to know, because it's coming to, it's coming to their state too. We're all border states. These impacts from whether it's the drug crisis, fentanyl overdoses, whether it's the crime associated, this all is going to affect every state in America.
Watch the White House press secretary. She cannot name anything the border czar, Vice President Harris, has done to fix the border, refuses to answer why the president is getting rid of Title 42. Watch this.
The president has been doing the work at the border since day one. As you know, the president appreciates the partnership that he has with the vice president. You're right, that has been her charge, to work in a diplomatic way in finding the root causes of migration. I don't have anything to lay out specifically on what that work looks like, but again, we appreciate her partnership, and I would probably refer you to her office on anything specific on the work that she's doing. So look, we remained under a court order to lift Title 42. That is a court order. That is a court order that is telling us to lift Title 42, and we're going to comply because we follow the rule of law.
But the administration sought to lift it.
But it is a court order.
But that started by you guys.
So, Chad, you see the dissembling and the disingenuousness here? I mean, they don't even know what the vice president is doing at the border, meaning nothing. They're the ones fighting to get rid of Title 42, the last backstop that is against rampant illegal immigration. But the messaging out of the White House continues to be pretty bad. Chad, final word.
Well, I agree with you, and I think most people say they're inept. I don't know that they're inept. I think this is by design. They're not being truthful with the American public on a variety of things. They use talking points and buzzwords, but it makes no sense. It makes no sense because their strategy makes no sense, and they don't have one. And I think that's what the American people want to see. They want to see a solution in sight, and they want some leadership, and they need that from the White House, and they're simply not getting it.
Got it. Chad Wolf, Ken Paxton, thanks for joining us. It's good to see you two gentlemen
Thank you.
tonight. I appreciate it.